Pink Floyd icon Roger Waters is drawing massive criticism from the general public and the family of the late Prince of Darkness Ozzy Osbourne after his recent comments about Ozzy in a podcast interview. Now, we're going to waste no time. We have the official clip from Roger Waters himself. Let's hear what he had to say and why the family is so upset with him after Ozzy Osbourne's passing. This clip just came out today. And the context for this clip, by the way, is that Roger is talking about the, I guess, bread and circuses that are thrown at the public, the distractions that are thrown at people in the form of pop stars. And for some reason, he felt the need to throw Ozzy Osbourne right after his passing in the mix. Let's listen.
Chrissy's heart and soul.
Right.
How can we push this to one side? Oh, I know how to do it. We'll do it with Taylor Swift or Bubblegum or Kim Kardashian's bum. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You know, and it doesn't matter.
But
or
I think
Ozzy Osbourne, who just died, bless him, in his whatever that state that he was in his whole life. We'll never know. We didn't, although he was all over the TV for hundreds of years with his idiocy and nonsense. The music, I have no idea. I couldn't give a fuck. I don't care about Black Sabbath. I never did. Right. I have no interest in biting the heads off chickens or whatever they do. I couldn't care less. So I'm more interested.
Just for the sake of artistic integrity, I think it was a bat he bit the head off of.
Oh, okay. Oh, my God. That's even worse. Right. Isn't it? I don't know. Is it worse to bite the head off a bat or a chicken? I'm not sure. They're both pretty tricky, aren't they?
But I think that...
Wow. So completely unprovoked, these comments from Roger Waters. As you can see, Ozzy Osbourne was not even mentioned in this podcast from the host. I'm not familiar with the host. It looks like this show is called the Independent Inc. podcast. But sort of a weird statement from Roger Waters, and it almost comes across as him having some sort of pent-up animosity for Ozzy Osbourne. Now, we did get an official response very quickly from Jack Osbourne on this statement. And here is the comment that was posted officially by Jack. He says, "Hey, Roger Waters, fuck you. How pathetic and out of touch you've become. The only way you seem to get attention these days is by vomiting out bullshit in the press. My father always thought you were a cunt. Thanks for proving him right." Ending it with the punctuation of a clown emoji. Now, needless to say, this statement was obviously very inflammatory and very hurtful to the Osbourne family, and something that clearly you're not going to want to hear when you've just lost your father. Clearly, this is not the way that you want a family member or really anybody to be discussed after their passing. Now, the way I look at it, and I hadn't actually seen this statement on video until I actually pressed broadcast here to do this live stream. But this just seems like a load of bullshit from Roger Waters. And it almost comes across as a little bit of jealousy. It almost sounds like he resents in a way that Ozzy got tons of press throughout his career. Not only that, but the fact that Ozzy continues to get press for months and weeks even after his passing. I believe it's been just about 6 weeks since Ozzy Osbourne passed away, and he's still been at the top of the news cycle almost every single day. Now, this sounds like something that has ruffled the feathers of Roger Waters, but then again, it's really not that difficult to ruffle the feathers of Roger Waters. This is a guy who, as Jack Osbourne said, and I think he made a very astute observation there, maybe not even astute, I think it's very easy to make this observation actually, that Roger Waters likes to run his mouth off. And that is not, again, that's not something that takes a genius or a music analyst to really figure out. But it's a real shame because every time Roger Waters opens his mouth, and I'll preface this by saying I do enjoy Roger Waters' music a lot. I love Pink Floyd. Probably one of my favorite groups. I mean, growing up, I always listened to them. They've always been a staple in my music listening history, without question. But every time Roger Waters opens his mouth, I like him less. there's always something. There's always a complaint. And really the way that I'm viewing Roger Waters, sad to say it, because again, he's a musical genius, the way I'm starting to view him is, hey kids, get off my lawn. I mean, we're talking about one of the most prominent figures in the genre of rock and roll music, basically coming down on the heart and soul of rock and roll and metal. Ah, you wild kids, and you biting the heads off chickens and your crazy rock and roll music. How far have we fallen, Roger Waters? How far have we fallen from being a rock icon? I mean, seemingly detesting the genre in which he helped create. Now, obviously, there's a difference here between Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath. On one hand, we have sort of psychedelic 70s rock. On the other hand, we have the founders of heavy metal, the whole crazy, wild rock and metal scene on the other side. But nonetheless, it's all one and the same. And, you know, this kind of reminds me of hip-hop in the sense where the old school rappers will talk about the new rappers and be like, oh, those crazy kids, they're ruining hip-hop. It just gives old man yelling at the sky vibes. You guys remember The Simpsons? Old man yells at sky, or yells at clouds, rather. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting from Roger Waters, and he even kind of looks like an old man yelling at the clouds in this picture that I have here. And I'm not trying to personally attack Roger Waters here, but he doesn't really leave us with much room to say anything else. Now, the other thing that really is ridiculous in this statement is the fact that he doesn't seem to know or care about the impact of Ozzy Osbourne. And he comes off as badly as somebody who doesn't know the genre of rock or metal at all. You know, this is exactly what your average, normie, clueless person who knows nothing about music would say about a guy like Ozzy Osbourne, which is pretty ridiculous coming from a guy who's a self-proclaimed musical genius. I mean, look, if you have the ability to sit down and write The Wall, if you have the ability to pen the majority of Dark Side of the Moon, I would hope, at least, that you would have some basic understanding of music. I would hope that you have at least a basic understanding and knowledge of what founded the music that is so closely related to what you do. And to dismiss a band with the musical significance of Black Sabbath, and I would even venture to say the musical relevance of Black Sabbath, because Black Sabbath is over. Black Sabbath reached their musical and cultural peak in the 70s, as did Pink Floyd, by the way. But I would be willing to say that Black Sabbath is probably more relevant today, first of all, than ever, due to the fact that they've influenced so many current bands and so many current artists, but also the fact that they're even more relevant than Pink Floyd. I mean, look, Pink Floyd is a great group, but when's the last time you heard a new up-and-coming artist who's really cutting edge, who's really pushing the needle forward for the genre, say, I was really influenced by Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is the group that made me want to do it. I mean, you look at today, all of the new emerging rock and metal artists. You look at a guy like Youngblood. You even look at people in other genres like a Jelly Roll, who I'm not personally a huge fan of, but these are people who are big names. These are all people who cite Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne as being major influences for everything they do. Not only that, but all the bands we know and love today, from Metallica to Sepultura to, I mean, name any band, name any metal band in the world who's been of consequence. They were influenced by Black Sabbath. They were influenced directly by Ozzy Osbourne. And it's common knowledge that this music, as we know it today, would not exist without Black Sabbath, would not exist without Ozzy Osbourne. So to conflate Black Sabbath with being some crazy, stupid band that bites the head off of chickens is absolutely ridiculous. And I would expect better from Roger Waters. I would expect more from a guy. Again, there's no debating his genius. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. Nobody can take that away from him. When you wrote The Wall and Wish You Were Here with David Gilmour. I mean, I'm not going to give it all to Roger Waters. David Gilmour is, he's my favorite personally. But you can't take away the accomplishments of a guy like Roger Waters. I'm not going to try to do that because then I'm going to sound as ridiculous as he sounds, right? We're not going to enter that territory, but that's sort of my point. Even if you're not a fan, why would you take a shot at a guy who just died like this and take a shot at a guy who pushed the needle forward for what you do? Because we have to remember, somebody who really knows music knows that Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath are apples and oranges. But to the average person on the street who doesn't know rock and metal, it's the same shit. Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Metallica, it's all the same shit. So the bigger Ozzy Osbourne is, in theory, the bigger Pink Floyd is. The bigger the genre is, the bigger they all get, the more money is in their pockets. The more awareness there is for them, the more tickets they can still sell to their shows. So I don't understand the logic or the rationale behind taking this shot at Ozzy. And it seemed like Roger tried to be somewhat civil in the first few seconds by saying he just died, bless him, which, like, what's that? What type of tribute is that? But then his seething envy and jealousy, it crept out. It crept out in this situation, and I have to say, guys, this is a pretty despicable statement from Roger Waters. And I do think he's jealous of Ozzy Osbourne because Roger Waters wants to be that guy. Roger Waters, for some reason, feels like he belongs in the spotlight of the media, even though the average everyday person doesn't even know who the hell Roger Waters is, okay? That's the one difference and distinction that I think has him seething, is that people know Pink Floyd, but the average, again, I'm seeing the average person who is not in the know. They don't even know who Roger Waters is, okay? They've never heard of him. Maybe if you say Pink Floyd, they might know it, but Ozzy Osbourne, on the other hand, has completely transcended music. Ozzy Osbourne is a name that you know whether or not you are even into his music. So I think that seems to be, to me at least from the outside looking in, that appears to be the root of the issue here, is that Ozzy Osbourne potentially became who Roger Waters thinks he is or wishes he was. But this statement is stupid. Like, it's just a ridiculous thing to say. Mentioning Ozzy in the same breath as Taylor Swift or Kim Kardashian is fucking ridiculous. And this is just a bullshit statement. I don't know what podcast this is, but they have 3,000 subscribers. Again, I'm not taking a shot at the podcast. I don't know this guy. But Roger Waters is on a small platform with 3,000 followers talking shit about a legend. What is the point? And Roger, if you see this, I would love to have you on my platform, to have you come on and speak your piece to my audience. Let's talk about it. I acknowledge your musical genius, but you sound stupid here. Not a very inviting pitch to have him on the show. But you sound stupid, and you sound like an old man. I'm telling you this as a young fan of rock and metal who loves both bands. You sound like a clueless old man. You sound completely out of touch. And what Jack Osbourne said to me was completely on the nose. You are completely out of touch with reality, my friend. And you are addicted to attention. Roger Waters doesn't even need to be doing interviews. Why are you doing interviews? What are you promoting? Do you have an album out? You're not even touring. Why is Roger Waters doing interviews with small platforms? What is the point? I can't think of a rationale behind this move other than he's desperate for attention. And he's been desperate for attention for a very long time. So this is classless. It's a pretty despicable move, if you ask me. And I think this sullies the reputation not only of Roger Waters, but of Pink Floyd. This makes them look like assholes. It makes him sound like an asshole. So I'm incredibly disappointed in this statement. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down below in the comments. Is Roger Waters justified for his ridiculous comments? Is this something that makes sense for him to say? Is this something that's based in reality? I mean, he doesn't even know if he bit the head off a chicken or a bat. He's clueless. This dude is completely clueless. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll end it with this. We'll end it with the latest photo of Roger Waters. I'm going to get in trouble now, which just came out. There's the new photo, folks. The Roger Waters autobiography will have this photo on the front. Old man yells at cloud. And Roger Waters, I will advise you, if you want to be remembered as the old man who yells at the clouds, well, keep proceeding down this road and keep doing what you're doing. If you want to be remembered with some semblance of respect or honor, or potentially as the musical genius that we all know you are, I would recommend that you stop talking. It's really easy to shut up. It doesn't take much effort. It takes a lot more effort to say stupid shit and disrespect somebody's legacy than it does to shut your trap for a couple of minutes. And I say this with all due respect. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments.